What is up, everyone? My name is Matt, coming back at you with another sports podcast. Welcome to Three and Out. Yes, Three and Out. That is the name of this podcast. I feel that this name perfectly represents what I want this show to be about. Today is Wednesday, and that means only one thing. It's midweek mix. Today's mix will be with the NBA, my NFL power rankings, and of course, my games of the weekend. I wanted to start first down with the NBA. Training camp opens this week. We are only 27 days away from the start of the NBA season. This was one of the most insane off seasons in the history of the NBA. We had Jimmy Butler traded to Minnesota. Paul George traded to Oklahoma City. CP3 traded to Houston. Kyrie was traded to Boston, and in return, the Cavs got Isaiah Thomas. Not to mention Gordon Hayward went to Boston in free agency. Millsap went to Denver. And also, Boston traded away the number one overall pick to Philly, which they used to draft Markelle Fultz. So those were all big moves. And what I wanted to do today was give you some under-the-radar signings that got lost in the shuffle. Now, I don't have these ranked in any particular order. Just wanted to give you my opinion on some big moves that happened that got little talk. First, I wanted to start with Patrick Patterson to the Oklahoma City Thunder, a 3-year deal worth $16.4 million. The biggest thing that Patterson's going to provide to the Thunder is floor space. They have Paul George and Russell Westbrook operating with the ball. They're going to need driving lanes. Now, when they do drive the ball, the defense can collapse on them, which happened a lot to Westbrook last year. And then when he kicked it out, you had Adams or Cantor or Andre Roberson trying to shoot threes. They're not very good at that. Patterson will be able to knock down a wide open three consistently and provide that team with the ability to be able to drive the ball and not have the defense collapse so hard on them. My second under-the-radar move this year was D'Angelo Russell to Brooklyn in a trade for a first-round pick to the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I don't understand why everyone's giving Brooklyn such a hard time. Yes, they had to take on Mozgov's contract. They're not competing for the next 2-3 years for any kind of playoffs, titles, or anything, and that's how long Mozgov's contract will last. They had the ability to bring him on with their cap space. Remember, this team's first-round pick had to be swapped with Boston. Boston had the 28th pick this year. They're not getting a superstar. So what they did is they parlayed that pick, and they had an opportunity because the Lakers wanted to get rid of Mozgov's contract. And D'Angelo Russell was sitting out there, and they were able to bring him in for essentially the 28th pick. Now, D'Angelo Russell has been up and down. He's a little immature. He'll have time to grow in a system that is not competing for a playoffs. It's not the bright lights of LA. It's Brooklyn. They're known they're going to be bad. They're not going to get much TV games. There's no Kobe Bryant here. He'll be able to develop into what I believe will be a potential all-star. My third under-the-radar signing this year is Mike Scott to the Washington Wizards, 1 year, $1.7 million. Mike Scott will be very good off the bench for his team. He's not going to be an all-star. He's not going to average 10 points a game. What he will do is provide depth defensively. He can guard any position from point guard to power forward, which will in turn cause mismatches the other way when they're on offense, because if you stick a power forward on him that's not athletically gifted enough to stick with him, he can go around him. And if you put a smaller defender on him, he can shoot over the top. The Wizards are also getting a deal with this. Not many players that will be in your top 10 rotation make $1.7 million, especially ones with the skill set and athleticism as Mike Scott. And now moving on to my last under-the-radar signing this NBA offseason, Ben McLemore to the Memphis Grizzlies, 2 years, $11 million. Ben McLemore has underperformed as a professional, yes, because of where he got drafted. He was a top 5 pick for Sacramento. He went where careers go to die. Honestly, Ben McLemore, I feel, will have the same role in Memphis as Tony Allen did when he was there during their Western Conference Finals days. He is a young,
Moving
athletic,
on to
very good
down,
defender.
and in
Not many
second
people
down,
know
what
that
I'm
about
going to do
him.
is give you
He's a
my
very good
weekly
defender.
top
What he'll
10
do better
NFL power
than Tony
rankings.
Allen is shoot
We have a
the
little bit of
three.
movement
Ben
from last
McLemore will
week.
sit in the
I actually
corner,
have taken two
have,
teams
Mike
out in
Conley dishing
Seattle
the
and
ball
Minnesota.
off to
They're
him,
no
and then it
longer in my
also
top
provides
10.
some floor space for Gasol
So let's get this started.
to be able
At number
to do
10,
his work in the post.
I have the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I'm not going to overreact too much with their loss to Denver, although I have moved them down quite a bit in my power rankings. I just feel that there's a little bit too much talent on this team, and it wasn't really shown really well in Denver, where it's a hard place to play, the mile-high air, and also that team plays lights out defensively at home. But I do promise to give you a lot more effort in this podcast than Ezekiel Elliott did trying to tackle the ball carrier on the interception last week. I think they'll right the ship in the next couple weeks, but right now I have them as my number 10 team. At number 9, I have the New England Patriots. Now, I had the Patriots last week at number 7. They won convincingly. Why did I move them down? I'm just not sold on this team yet. They played the New Orleans Saints, or as I like to call them, your offensive problem fixers, because they'll fix your offense because they're so bad defensively. And I just need to see them against better competition before I get them up any higher than I have them right now. At number 8, I had the Detroit Lions, coming off a very impressive win on Monday night against the Giants. They're 2-0. Matt Stafford's playing lights out. The defense there is playing really good as well. So right now, they're my number 8 team and newly into my top 10. At number 7, I have the Baltimore Ravens. Defensively, this team is lights out. They're a top 5 defense in this league. The one question mark that you'll have with this team is offensively. Flacco still isn't 100%. You can see that. They've been running the ball very well. But losing all-pro guard Marshall Yanda for the season is going to be a devastating blow to this team. What they're trying to be more of a ground and pound field position, defensively are going to win this game. Losing him loses the ability for that team to run the ball. That will be a big problem for Baltimore. At number 6, I have the Green Bay Packers. Now, they just got shellacked by the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons finally learned how to run the ball. We'll go over more of that in a little bit. Green Bay defensively is always going to be a question mark. Aaron Rodgers didn't look full himself against the Falcons. I will give them a pass. They went into a environment that is like no other. They're opening a stadium for the first time. It's a beautiful stadium. They just got outplayed. They grew into the game, and they made it close late Sunday night, but it wasn't good enough, and that's why I have them rated as 6. My 5th team this week are the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've done what they've needed to do. They've played the teams on their schedule, and they've won. That first week against Cleveland, meh. The week 2 against a very good Minnesota team, albeit they didn't have Sam Bradford, and I think that made a huge difference in this game. Minnesota's still very good defensively, and the Pittsburgh Steelers did put up points on that defense, and I have them as my number 5 team this week. My number 4 team and my second new addition to the list are the Denver Broncos. I will be the first to say this. I underestimated Trevor Siemian. I underestimated the whole Denver Broncos unit as a whole. We all know defensively they were going to be really good, but what Simeon's doing offensively, not just being a game manager, but going out and winning games, has Denver looking forward to a deep run into the AFC this year. At number 3, I have the Atlanta Falcons starting 2-0 again. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman. That offense is often running, and defensively they're playing very well. And against Green Bay, they showed that they were the better team that day at home in that environment where they're opening the stadium. Now, can they sustain this for the season? Time will tell, but I do like them this week, and I have them as my number 3 team. At number 2, I have the Oakland Raiders of Las Vegas, of wherever they're at, but I have them as my number 2 team. Derek Carr's playing lights out. Michael Crabtree had 3 touchdowns. He's turning himself into one of the best receivers in the NFL, and nobody's really talking about that. Marshawn Lynch is still running people over, and defensively they're playing well. They're my number 2 team, and that leaves my number 1 team as the Kansas City Chiefs. Week 1, they go into New England and spoil that party. Week 2, they welcome in Philadelphia, a team that came off a big win and delivered them their first loss. Kareem Hunt, I would say out of nowhere. I mean, he really wasn't the starter until Ware went down, but he has been just a dream for Andy Reid to coach. He leads the league in rushing. He's also a very good receiver out of the backfield. Tyreek Hill, that defense, they are my number one team after week 2. And we're on to third down. And at this part of the show and the midweek mix, what I like to do is give you the best games of the weekend in the NFL, college football, and Major League Baseball. This week in the NFL, there's not many big games. By far, the premier matchup is Atlanta at Detroit. Atlanta, your defending NFC champions, will go to 2-0 Detroit. Detroit's trying to prove that they're not a fluke and that they're real. And this should be an interesting test in the NFC to see who can grab control and have the potential tiebreaker when it comes to the NFC playoffs. Also, Tampa travels to Minnesota. This is very interesting because if Bradford plays, we'll get to see that offense against a better defense to see if Minnesota is really what they showed in week 1 or are they more like they showed in week 2. In college football this week, we have number 16 TCU traveling to number 6 Oklahoma State. By far the top matchup of the weekend. TCU's coming into Oklahoma State, looking to have a statement win for their program, while Oklahoma State's looking to hold off TCU and get themselves a resume booster when it comes to the playoff committee. Also in the SEC East, we have a matchup between Mississippi State and Georgia. Now, if you want to win the SEC East, you cannot have many losses because you have to go against Bama. And if you can somehow pull off the win against Bama, losing this game here is not going to do you any favors if you want to try to get into that spot in the SEC East and going into the SEC Championship. So it's a pivotal game for these two teams. Just in case one of them does knock off Alabama, they have a chance to stake that claim. What I'm going to do in this weekly too is I'm also going to give you the best non-ranked game of the week. This week it was a little easy because we have Notre Dame traveling to Michigan State. And in Major League Baseball, there's one marquee series this weekend. We have the Chicago Cubs traveling to Milwaukee to take on the Brewers. Whoever wins this series, I believe, will win the NL Central. I also want you to keep an eye on a few teams that are in some races for either divisions or wild card. We have the Yankees, Twins, Red Sox, Indians, Astros, and Dodgers. Now, none of these teams play each other, nor do they play anyone that will factor into the playoff race. But the Yankees are only 3 games back in the East, yet they're 7 games up in the wild card, so they're most likely going to be in the playoffs. How are they going to be in? Are they going to be a division winner? Will Boston lose it? Or will they be in as your wild card team? The Twins are only a game up on the Angels for that last wild card spot in the American League. And the Indians, which are a game and a half up on the Astros, and only 2 games behind the Dodgers. And the way the results can go tonight could only be a game behind the Dodgers for the best overall record. You want to keep an eye on those 3 teams to see who's going to be the number 1 seed in the American League and who will be the number 1 seed overall in baseball. All right, everyone, that is it. That's all I have for you today on 3 and Out. I hope you like the name. I hope you like the concept. Help me out. In the description below, I'm going to have some links that's going to link over to the new socials for the channel. We're going to have a Twitter page, a YouTube page. Go over there, like, share, follow, leave some comments. Who are your top 10 for the week 2 in the NFL? And who you think are the playoff teams going to be in the MLB? Love to hear from you. All right, those are my 3 topics, and I'm out. Peace!